Welcome to Alex and Annie, the Real Women of Vacation Rentals. I'm Alex.
And I'm Annie.
And we're here today for a different kind of episode. So today is just Annie, it's just you and I.
Oh, Lord. Oh,
Yeah.
Lord.
Who knows what's going to happen?
Uh,
We've had such an unbelievable time over these past couple months interviewing guests, and we've had just the most amazing conversations, and it's just led to great opportunities, and we're so excited about it. But we wanted to take an opportunity just to reflect back on this journey so far, and say thank you to everybody who's been part of it and helping us and supportive. And also, we want to review the women's conference that we just got back from, because it was probably the best conference I've ever been to.
yeah, I 100% agree. I think it was just because it wasn't a typical conference. It was just a nice, warm setting to just nurture relationships and just feel safe and welcomed. And there's just so many words you could put to it. But yeah, Amy Highnote and her staff at VRMA did a phenomenal job at putting together. And I know just given everything everybody's gone through the whole year, it was a great way to end this year for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. And really, when you think back, Annie, I mean, my gosh, we went to DARM in August. That's another one of Amy Highnote's conferences, VRMA. We went to that. And then that kind of kicked off the last few months of just going nonstop. I think I've been to 6 conferences since then. And DARM was wonderful. It started on a high note, literally, and then it ended on a high note. But it was great. DARM was great. Going to VRMA, San Antonio was wonderful. Orlando, we've had some great shows, but I think the women's conference was just kind of in a class of its own. I think Amy and her team, they know how to put on a great show, and that's absolutely what this was. And at the Ritz Carlton in New Orleans in December at Christmas time, it's hard to beat that.
Yeah, it definitely was the bright spot. But again, it was a great way to cap off the year. And I think the year's just been for everybody. It started out with so much uncertainty. Mm-hmm. And it ended with just, exhaustion, because the year just went crazy. I mean, everybody, and no matter what side of the business you were on, was it was a great year to be in vacation rentals. So it was nice to end off with the conference. And I think, again, we all came away with some good new friends and stronger bonds with people. And then, we got the opportunity from starting our podcast to have a session, and that was nerve-wracking, exciting. It was great to be a part of. So, I mean,
that was, I would say, the highlight of of the conference for me. I think that was so exciting, and not just for you and I, but I think for Got to Go, the panel that we had them on, and the format that we did it's kind of unprecedented. We started that session I asked the audience, and this is a trick question. I said, does anybody remember at VRMA conference in 2008 when Airbnb came and asked for feedback on the platform they were building? And a couple of people in the audience started laughing or like nodding their heads saying yes. And I said, no. That never happened.
Yes, exactly.
You're wrong. It never happened. So that's why this was so unique, because Got to Go they're literally leaning into wanting to make this exactly what they're saying, a platform by hosts, made for hosts. And that was such a collaborative session. I've never even been in a session like that where we're on stage, but literally it was the entire audience asking questions, sharing their experiences and what they wanted to see. And, the Got to Go founders just really embracing it and saying, yeah, we're open to all those things. So that was really exciting. And I hope that, Annie, you and I have the opportunity to do that maybe at other conferences with other different businesses. I think it was a really great format, and it seemed like everybody enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think it was good. And people got to ask a lot of questions that I think, from the Got to Go perspective, maybe they hadn't thought of before. But again, the fact that, like you said, they're leaning into building a relationship from the beginning with with the property managers, that just speaks volumes to where they're going to go. And I think that they'll be successful for that alone. I mean, just asking the right questions. And so, yeah, I wish our session had been bigger, but probably for us, it was the right size to start out. And it would be nice to have conversations with new channels to this degree. So I would throw that challenge out to anybody who is from a channel to have a conversation with Alex and Annie about all of what they're doing.
No, I mean, we want to be able to use this our platform to be able to help other businesses succeed. And if we can help connect the dots, that's really why we started the podcast.
Absolutely.
So I think we've been able to connect the dots in a lot of ways so far. But yeah, that was really exciting. We also got to spend a lot of time with Amber Hertl, who was the keynote speaker. And it's just so funny how things evolve. I mean, you had followed Amber on LinkedIn much prior to the show, right? I mean, you knew her a little bit more, and you reached out to her and just asked, for some advice about the podcast. And she was like, I'll be a guest, and she wants us to be a guest on her show. And then that kicked it off. And we filmed an episode with her, which I have to tell this story. Bless her heart. She was the most patient, wonderful woman and first guest that we could possibly have. I mean, we've learned a lot about podcasting in the last 2 months, but it was a little rough going in the early days. I'm surprised we even kept going, to be honest. But we had to record Amber's episode 3 times because things just kept going wrong. That my sound was out. The other time I was traveling and my Wi-Fi was bad. It was my fault for all of them. But when we got the final one, I think it came out good. And it was just, the 3 of us bonded, and she's amazing and so inspiring. And her keynote speech was incredible. We had the opportunity to go to dinner with her, just the 3 of us, on Monday night when we got there, which was
amazing.
Yeah, just the icing on the cake. So we got a lot of time with Amber, and we're excited about the future of her within our industry and continuing to offer these leadership opportunities. So that was pretty cool. That was another highlight for me.
Yeah. The one thing the takeaway I would have for like, just going back to our first episode, is that if you're going to do your first episode, is have somebody who's in the business, who understands the pitfalls and the challenges and the things that can happen. Because Amber was absolutely, she was spectacular and just so accommodating to us. But again, I think that just speaks to her embracing, elevating women and helping women feel comfortable in whatever that they're doing. And I've learned a lot from her in a short amount of time. And so again, I believe no coincidences. There's no coincidences, and we were meant to meet her. So
everybody at the conference got a copy of her book, as well as the other keynote speakers too, but hers is The Bombshell Businesswoman. And I started reading it over the weekend, and I do pretty much everything over audio. This is the first book I've actually read in quite a while. And I'm not nearly finished with it, but even within the first few pages of reading it, I thought, gosh, there's such a reason that we connected with her. And there's this one line in the book that talks about, you get to this point where you have this aha moment and you realize this is exactly what I should be doing. I took a picture of it. I sent it to her. I said, did you know that that's our tagline for the podcast, or like just the overall theme and premise is that we want to find the aha moment. And she said what you said, Annie, that there are no coincidences, and we're supposed to meet the people on our path. And we're just very grateful for her. So
yeah. So I think it goes back to like how we evolved into this podcast. It's like, you and I have known each other for 4.5, almost 5 years now. Met at a conference, and going back to, the way Amber talks about, you being a bombshell and how you're powerful, and my perception of you and your perception of me, and how we were both kind of uneasy, but we knew we needed each other. Something told us we needed to be together.
Right.
We've stayed together through, working collaboratively on things and just being friends. And it's grown into a really great friendship. And then, as I joke, every good decision's made after 2 glasses of wine, and we decided we were going to do a podcast. So, I think that we found something, and maybe our aha moment was pushing ourselves to just be uncomfortable. And when we announced this at VRMA, I mean, it was like you joked about it. We broke the internet. People were just crazy that we were going to do this. Like, they were so excited for us, and it really hasn't slowed. And I think, we found the right message. Even though the message is somewhat, it can be molded into any industry. Like, we found the right message at the right time. And you and I are the right 2 people to do that. And so it's just been wonderful.
Yeah. And I think it just further shows you really have to put yourself out there. You have to commit first, figure it out later. That's one of my favorite quotes. And it's so true, because I remember when you and I were leaving a session at VRMA, and we hadn't said that we were going to announce it there. Like, we had posted a teaser of you and I, just a picture of us saying we had an announcement, but we didn't know that we were going to actually post our logo or anything while we were there,
Right.
but we were leaving a session and I said to you, I was like, Annie, we got to post this now. Like, I feel it. And we
Right.
did. And then we had so many people that came up to us there and the response was wonderful. But sometimes you're just compelled to do something and you've got to go with your intuitions. And I'm glad that we did, because I think if we hadn't done it then and we had released it at another time and hadn't gotten that feedback, we might have not really felt as committed that we had to do this. And I think we both felt like, okay, when we
Yeah.
got back from that conference, we got to figure this out now, because now all these people are expecting it. And
Yeah.
I mean, literally in my hometown here, and I know in yours too, we had people coming up to us saying, where's the podcast? When's it going to
Yeah.
start? And the first episode you and I had, just the two of us, of course, we recorded it, thought it was great. And then we realized we didn't hit record.
Yeah.
So there's definitely a lot of bumps along the way, but
Yeah.
we've learned a lot in the last couple months. So that's been truly a pleasure. But
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. And I think we've learned a lot about each other and a lot about our business too. And it's connected
yeah,
us with people. I know that I've been connected with people that I don't know that I would ever have had
yeah,
the opportunity to connect with. Again, we talk about this all the time with people. LinkedIn has been such a
yeah,
great platform, kind of like the Facebook of business, but in a better way. But it's just the network that we both have built up over time was just built for exactly what we're trying to do right now. So again, goes back to that thing we've always talked about. Every stepping stone leads you down the path that you're supposed to be. And this was our path, whether we
yeah.
realized it or not. So
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. And it's been fun connecting the dots within our guests and actually being able to hear the stories about who these people were prior to getting into the industry that they're in or the business that they're in. And I think that's one thing that is lacking a little bit, that the articles and the content that comes out is so directly related to what the product is and what people are doing in the day to day. But behind that is the person, right? And I think we're
Yeah.
really trying to humanize the people that we have on the show and the companies and the brands and build those connections. And one thing I will say that I thought this was funny, but uh, somebody made a comment when we were at the women's conference that their company was supposed to sponsor it, but decided not to because they didn't get a booth. Like there's no vendor hall at the women's conference. Everybody got a small like cocktail table that they
Right.
could have in the area where lunch was served, but there was no vendor hall. But companies had decided they didn't want to sponsor because there wasn't that direct sales opportunity to have a true booth and to have that. And honestly, that is, we debunked that myth. I mean, I made connections with companies there that have been
Yeah.
calling on me for years that I
Oh,
am
really?
now
Yeah.
going to give a chance
Yeah.
because we had great conversation. I mean, that whole conference was so much about relationship building and networking, and gosh, it's unbelievable to me. And I think that's really important for, anybody who's considering sponsoring at a conference like this in the future. Don't just look at the opportunity as whether or not you have a booth or not, because I spent so much more time with different vendors at this event, getting to know them and just excited to now see, okay, maybe they are a good fit for Condo World now that I'm back home in the office, because I'm going to take that call or I'm going to listen to that email or whatever
Right.
presentation they want to show us, because I just enjoy who they are. So the relationships are super important. And that's really the backbone of how we've built our company here at Condo World. And I know, Annie, in your career, you've been the same way too. And I
Yeah.
think as the industry moves forward, especially with all this new blood and new vendors and new people coming into it, it's really important to remember that it's still a small industry, and the relationships we have are truly the most important at the end of the day to keep all of us moving forward.
Yeah, and I say this all the time. It's kind of a trite saying, but I learned it when I was on the chamber board years ago here, is that people are going to do business with people that they know, like, and they trust. And
Absolutely.
if you
Yeah.
build up that trust and that relationship, and that for me has been the staying power in my personal career, is that it's relationships. I'm the same person. Yeah, I've grown a little bit, but I'm pretty much the same person that I was 15 years ago. I just have a
Yeah.
little more knowledge to back up, my career wise, but I'm the same person. And if
Right.
people had relationships with me 15 years ago and they liked me, they still like me now. They just have more respect for me from my
Right.
business
Yeah.
acumen.
Yep.
But
Yep.
yeah, so I would say, yeah, if somebody said that they weren't going to sponsor because of that, they have to look at, is it better to have really 25 really good conversations than 200 maybe you might remember who they are conversations, so I hope that Amy can gain more participation for things, because I think just the sessions alone they were intimate. They weren't too big, and people got to, like our session, people got to ask questions and they didn't feel like they were in this large room like you are at VRMA, and you're not fighting for attention, and it was good. So
and I definitely have to give a shout out to the two panels that I was on for both companies asking me to participate, because they were wonderful. I was on Explori's panel about guest experience.
That was a good one. I went to that.
It was great. And the Explori crew, they are amazing. And Adrian, the whole crew, they were wonderful. We went out to dinner one of the nights and just really enjoyed getting to know their team. And then also was on Rebecca Lombardo and True Places panel about virtual tours. And that was great too. And there was such a mix of attendees here that there was, companies that have thousands of units and some that just they're getting started and they have 10 or 15, and being able to talk through some of the questions they had on pictures and marketing. And it opened up into a bigger discussion, but I think that was really great. And Rebecca did a great job of moderating that session too. So big props to True Place and Explori. I really appreciate them asking me to participate. Enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think it was good. And again, there was the sessions were well thought out. The conversations were well had. There was a lot of thought put into how this was all going to flow. There was some hiccups along the way. There always is, with speakers not being able to get there and those type of things. And one thing I thought was really interesting is I had a conversation with somebody prior to the show that said, oh, well, one of our employees was told that men are not allowed to come to the conference. And I thought that just can't be right, because that's just not how this has always ever been presented to me. So I did some checking and it was like, no, we want men to be there. And so I want to say, like, Steve Trover, Andrew McConnell, there was quite a few men there. Andrew was in a session that I was in with one of the Nagoski sisters. And it was, one of those sessions that it was a little off color, and they're like a trooper. And I just admired the men for like coming and being present and being part of it and letting us be, and not feeling that they weren't welcome. And so I would say to any of the guys out there, like, come next time. It's a great way to just be and not feel like you're having to hard pitch a conversation.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, us as women at that type of an event, we also need to be welcoming of them to be there. Right. Because, I think all the guys that were there for the right reasons. And really, we want that opportunity. A lot of the topics that were brought up about, different issues that women have within the workforce and, within their careers, it's important that the guys have the opportunity to hear those types of panels and discussions, because they probably don't listen to that regularly. So if anything, we want more men to go to that, because I think that just opens up the knowledge base, and that leads to a lot of great things. But we had 3 guys on stage. We had the founders of Got to Go, Craig, Russ, and Guy, and they did wonderful. That's the first time they've ever done anything like that. I was so proud of them. Like, they did great. They answered the questions, completely transparently and with, complete just enthusiasm and interest in what our attendees were asking. So, and I'm sure they probably felt a little awkward when they first stepped in the event,
That's why it was the hot seat.
Yes, it was the OTA Hot Seat. Poor guys. But they did great. And I can't wait for this conference next year. I know Amy she said she is fully committed. And I think this was a great show of everybody supporting her, and the video that they showed at the end when she won the Crusader Award. If there's any doubt, I think she knows that she is so valued, and we want to see these events continue into the future. So I hope that we have this again next year. It's going to be hard to go to another conference after this one. And not compare it, to be honest.
The bar set really high.
I don't know when conferences start for 2022, but it's going to be hard to compare. But so that's, I think, a good wrap up there. Just as we transition into where we're going for the rest of this season with the podcast, and even into next year, Annie, I would ask you, what's something that you're looking forward to in 2022? Not just with the podcast, but with your business and your life.
So I think 2022 is just, it's it's a blank slate at this point. I think there's just so many opportunities out there, not only for the podcast, but for where I work with Lexicon right now. I mean, I am looking to create more partnerships for us, obviously have more connections, but just
Yeah.
broaden kind of how we do business. And so we're, internally we're looking at that. And then personally, I think it's just, it's just being happy and safe and getting rid of all of this, talk of pandemics and worry where things are going to be. I don't know where it's going to go, but the one thing that this year and probably the last 2 years has taught me is to just, as we keep lean in, like just really get out, like stretch yourself so far outside your comfort zone, because everything that I have done in the last 18 months has been so far outside my comfort zone. I'm from doing the clubhouse. I dragged you into the clubhouse, and then doing this podcast, and obviously being on stage last week, so far out of anything that I would ever put myself up to do. So thank you for pushing me for that. I appreciate you and love you for that. So yeah, I the sky's the limit. I think there's so many things that can be done. I think for the podcast, I'm excited to be able to broaden who we have on the show, who we interview. I know that we're from vacation rentals, and we're the real women of vacation rentals, as we joke, but there's so many pieces of just the universe that cross through these motivational speakers like Amber and coaches and working with marketing firms and just different aspects of the industry that I think are relevant to what we do every day, that we just want to bring on and be not have it be so much about selling just the stuff within the industry, but really selling how, people can be complete participants in the industry. So I'm excited about it. And I'm actually really excited about you, because you've got a really big year coming up, and so proud of you. And so why don't you tell us all about your chamber venture?
Yeah. 2022 is going to be a big year for sure. So I was recently elected chairman of the board of directors for the Myrtle Beach Area Chamber of Commerce and CVB, which is our DMO, destination marketing organization. And I'm extremely excited about it. This is an organization I've been part of as a board member for now 6 years. So been involved for a long time. And our DMO, our CVB, they are literally the lifeblood of tourism and economic growth for our area. And they do an incredible job of marketing the destination and growing, the business atmosphere that all of us have to be able to grow our own businesses. So been working really closely with that team for a long time. And we've got some pretty big hurdles that we're up against in 2022. Really, I wouldn't even say hurdles, I'd say opportunities with infrastructure and workforce development and downtown revitalization and just some really great things. And it's going to be exciting. I'm more than honored to have been elected to serve for that, and just excited for the opportunity. I'm the youngest chairman that they've ever had in the history of 100 years of the chamber. So that's pretty exciting too. And only the 6th woman. So I know when I started on the board, there was in the conference room, there's everybody's headshot of all the chairmen over the years, and they're black and white pictures. And it's literally, it just looks like a whole bunch of black and white pictures of men. Right. So I'm excited to add another woman's face to that. And I talked about this in our first episode, the aha moment. It kind of goes back to it. And I'm going to share this story next week at our holiday luncheon when I get up to say a few words about accepting this position. That when I first moved to Myrtle Beach, the first job that I was at, I remember the chamber chairman came by to our office, and I'm not even sure why he came by, to be honest, but he came by to meet with us, and he was Brant Branham, very impressive businessman. And I thought, he's obviously been around here for a long time, really has his stuff together. And after he left, my female bosses said we would join the chamber, but we're never going to get much out of it, and that we don't expect too much, because none of us are part of that good old boy network, and we're never going to serve on the board or anything like that. Literally, everything they were telling me that I wasn't going to do, I've done. And so it's incredible to look back on that. And as a lesson that I've learned, anybody that tells you something that you can't do, go do it. Don't let people discourage you because of their life experience, thinking that they can't achieve that. And I didn't set out to say, okay, now I'm going to be the chair someday. That's not how it happened at all. But this naturally evolved. But when you lean into who you are and your strengths and you believe in yourself, the opportunities come to you. So very excited for that. And for, Condo World, my, the day job that actually pays me,
Right.
the chamber and the podcast don't pay anything, but I enjoy both of them immensely. Condo World, I am so excited for 2022. We just came off of the best Cyber Monday, Black Friday sale we've ever had. I mean, unbelievable numbers.
Congrats.
Yeah, super exciting. And I mean, even before that, going into 2022, we are well ahead of where we were this time last year, which is in terms of occupancy and rental rates. And that's pretty crazy because this time last year, we had pushed a lot of 2020 reservations that canceled for COVID into 2021. So that's a great sign for 2022, not just for us, but for the industry as a whole. I think tourism still is going to be massive next year. And I don't think that cruises and international are going to take away too much of our market share next year. I think there's still going to be more variants of COVID that are going to keep that away. I think it's probably going to be 2023 before that becomes more of an issue. But what are you seeing in your markets? Or is that
pretty similar. I think that the markets where they're large international destinations, those are the ones that I'm kind of rooting for international to come back, because like Orlando, New York, those markets, they need that. You're talking 30%, 25-30% of their business is international. So that's a huge chunk to lose. But everybody that I'm working with in like tertiary markets or, very specific vacation destinations, very seasonal, they're doing well, and and the nice thing is, I mean, as much as, again, it's kind of antithetical to what I do in channel management, I mean, they're doing good direct too. So that's good for the industry overall. There's still going to be a need for channels because nobody's ever going to do 100%, but everybody's positive. And I do agree with you. I don't think that international is going to come back where it needs to be probably till 2024. I think that's like when they're modeling for like business travel to really come back. So anything can happen. And then that's one thing I think, that there's no certainties in life, but what they say, death and taxes. So
I mean, at the end of the day, we're all very blessed to be in an industry that has truly grown through COVID. And we had Simon Lehman on the podcast a few weeks ago, and he said that, the awareness of vacation rentals went from 5%, was it 2015 in 2015?
I can't remember. 80%? I want to say it was like 15%, and then it went up to like 85%, but that's over like the last 10 years or something. It's
we're not good with the numbers there, but overall, the takeaway is that the exposure and the market share and the acceptance of vacation rentals has just gone through the roof in the last couple of years. So that's very exciting for all of us. I think people are seeking out our types of accommodations, and as a property manager, the one thing that we need to be focusing on in our marketing, I know we are at Condo World, is pushing out, if you're a property management company, you are the local expert in that destination, right? And that's really important because, Vrbo and Airbnb are, they really have taken the lion's share of credit for what our industry is and what our product is. But at the end of the day, it's the local operators that are delivering on that experience. And I think that's really important for all of us to continue to push our messaging that, you do book direct because you're booking directly with the person that has the keys to the unit, right? And we're going to deliver that best local experience that a guest can get. So super exciting stuff for next year. I think it's going to be a good year. We've got, through my chamber affiliation and through some of your contacts, we've got some destination marketing experts that are going to be joining us from our team up here. Stuart Butler, who is CMO for the Myrtle Beach Chamber and CVB, previously was COO of Fuel Travel and had the podcast, the Fuel Hotel Marketing Podcast. He is an unbelievable marketer, genius, and a great friend of mine. So we're excited to have him. And then you want to tell a little bit about Jennifer? Her.
So Jennifer Barbie, she's just a saint in this industry. She does a lot of destination marketing, but does the digital marketing piece for a lot of different destinations. I met her when she was doing things for the Panama City Beach CVB when I was on the marketing committee there. And we've just stayed friends, and she's just a phenomenal powerhouse. And you talk about a woman who is a bombshell. Yeah. She is the absolute epitome of a bombshell. And so I think through her, we've stayed friends, and I had the chance to get together with her when I was at the Streamline conference, because she lives out in Arizona, and just catching up with her again, it's that relationship. I mean, it was like no time had ever passed. We caught up about her family family, and she's got a couple of girls, and her husband's amazing. And just having those relationships have just dovetailed into so many other relationships that we're really excited, I think, for the two of us to bring some of these relationships to our show and interview and talk to people and really broaden the conversation about vacation rentals and just where everything else in the industry goes.
Yeah. And I think that's what I've always loved about my relationship with the chamber so much, is that, we know what's going on within vacation rentals, but to keep an eye on the broader travel scope there. And I always learn something at our marketing meetings or any of our meetings, but they've, people like Stuart and Jennifer have such a pulse on everything that's going on within destination marketing, hospitality marketing. So there's a lot to be learned from them. So super excited about having them on the show. Other than that, I'd just like to say thank you, Annie, for an amazing last couple months. I think we've had a lot of fun, and I appreciate you've pushed me as much as I've pushed you, and somehow we've gotten this boulder up a mountain, I guess. We're not sure. Hopefully it doesn't fall off the other side, but we're pushing it. But it's been truly a pleasure.
Yeah, and same. And I think that, if you at Thanksgiving, you count your blessings, and you're absolutely one of my major blessings in my life. And then going into next year, I just wish, nothing but the best for both of us. And I think our minds together, we think off the cuff a lot.
Yep.
Where you and I can do whatever we set our minds to. And I know our minds are set on big things, and we'll get there.
Yep. Well, before I start crying, that sounds like a good way to end it. So thank you everybody for listening, and we appreciate you. And we will hold on. So next Tuesday, December 22nd, you do not want to miss this episode with Julie Bird. Have to announce her episode because it was wonderful. She is COO of Cabo Villas, and she's got a great story. So be sure to tune in next Tuesday. Until then, thank you for listening. We appreciate you.
Thanks. Bye,
everybody.